Now to the other big story that we're covering. Family members and leaders all across New Orleans gathered to remember the life and legacy of the late, great, iconic pioneer of civil rights, Dr. Norman C. Francis. The celebration of life for Dr. Francis held at the St. Louis Cathedral in the French Quarter, followed by a mass. For more on what happened today, let's go live to WDSU's Daryl Forges.
Travers, right now, the body of Dr. Norman C. Francis is en route to his final resting place, the St. Louis Cemetery number 3. The ceremony held today, the mass, was just unbelievable. Hearing the incredible stories from people who knew Dr. Norman C. Francis incredibly well. One of those was former New Orleans Mayor Mark Morial. He had an incredible eulogy earlier this morning talking about the impact he had not only across New Orleans, but really across the globe, and how much he made an incredible impact on so many people, even presidents. Have a listen.
Norman Francis, above and beyond everything, was an institution builder. Now, there are many leaders. Some are show horses. They know how to get attention. They generate a lot of media. They get a lot of press. Some are workhorses. They toil in the vineyard. They're never recognized, and they accomplish a lot. But this man was an institution builder. Most great leaders may have the chance to build one institution. Norman Francis built 2 institutions.
Just amazing words right there. Also, Dr. Norman C. Francis really built up Xavier University to what it is today when it comes to overall infrastructure, making it twice the size, tripling enrollment, and doing other incredible things when it comes to the pharmacy department and also the School of Medicine. But to talk more about what happened today in this incredible ceremony, I want to turn things over now to WDSU reporter Alyssa Gomez, who has more on the bigger picture we all saw throughout the mass and the ceremony honoring the life of the late Dr. Norman C. Francis. Alyssa.
Yeah, Daryl, this morning we saw so many prominent community figures, local leaders, and of course, Xavierites ushering into St. Louis Cathedral. So many of them talking about the sun is shining, there's a beautiful cool breeze. It was the perfect day to honor the life and legacy of Dr. Norman C. Francis. Now, also similar to yesterday's services, there's of course that feeling of loss, but also so much joy in celebrating the accomplishments, accolades, and a life well lived. At moments, you even heard the crowd inside the cathedral erupt with laughter during former Mayor Mark Morial's eulogy as he recalled some fond memories and stories of Dr. Francis. So many people we spoke with over the last 2 days shared the profound ways in which Dr. Francis inspired them, and that includes former Councilman Oliver Thomas. He says that Dr. Francis encouraged him to keep pursuing a life of service, and he also talked about Dr. Francis' impact beyond Xavier.
I went through some of the trials and tribulations of my life. I remember when he called me to his office to say, don't give up public service. The Leadership Institute he started within Xavier to help develop young leaders. People forget about the Xavier Triangle and that combination, him working with Ms. Brenda Davalier, about how you not just focus on Xavier's campus, but how does it impact that entire area.
Mr. Thomas called Francis one of the sharpest minds, hearts, and souls of the city, really summing up the impact that he has had here. Just a few minutes ago, we heard the final remarks from Dr. Francis's family, from Archbishop Checchio, and then, of course, as they brought the casket out, they were playing As the Saints Go Marching In, and This Little Light of Mine, and I swear, when they brought him out, the sun got a little warmer and shined a little brighter. Daryl, back to you.
Yeah, Alyssa, shining a lot brighter for the late Dr. Norman C. Francis. Thank you so much for the report right there. Also, his daughter, Christina Francis, spoke and said that their family hit the jackpot, knowing him and having him as their father. She said that at the age of 94, he was ready to go, but selfishly, they wanted to keep him forever. We have much more on the funeral that took place earlier today, and also more information on the life and legacy of Dr. Norman C. Francis online on WDSU.com and also on our WDSU mobile app. Travers.